Hey, so I update my Blender setup quite frequently, changing add-ons and just the look of my Blender and all that stuff. So I thought it might be interesting to share what it currently is and what I'm currently using, and how my setup looks at the moment. So this is how my Blender looks when I open it fresh. I just have a cube. I got rid of the camera and the light and all that stuff, and so the add-ons I'm using at the moment is this. So I'm using animation nodes. Haven't actually used it, but it looks amazing and I really want to do some stuff with it, so I have it installed and ready, just waiting to use it. Then I have Asset Manager from PT Wazoo. I use all the time. I'll show that in a minute. BoxCutter and Hardops. Using it quite a lot now from Master Xeon. Then there's Decode Machine that I started using. I'm trying to find some workflows where it's useful because I really like it, and I'm starting to figure out some good workflows. So hopefully soon I'll have some work done with that. Then Group Pro. Don't really use it that often, but it is a useful add-on. I think at some point I'll need to use grouping more extensively. Although with Blender 2.8 around the corner, I'm not sure how the grouping is gonna work together with the whole new collection stuff and all that stuff. So I will see. Then machine tools goes along with Decode Machine. I haven't really looked into that much, but I just installed it as a package complete. So then MirrorTools. It's pretty old package, but it's highly recommended modeling tools, and yeah, it's just good stuff basically. Then Name Panel Master, really love this one. It's just for batch renaming stuff, and you can do stuff where you need to like automatically make the object name the same as the geometry name, or I'll show you in a minute. Then Pipe Nightmare Master, I haven't really used it, but it's one of those add-ons that just looks cool, and I think I'll have to use it at some point. Smart Cursor, also from PT Wazoo. Then Batch Operations, also haven't used it really, but I can see myself using it. Speedflow, PT Wazoo. Speedflow Companion, PT Wazoo, use all the time. Then textools, really promising UVing tool that's in development right now. Recommend checking that one out. Looks really good. Looks really great. Wonder Mesh, just better, more useful primitives that I'll show you in a minute as well. Totally useful. And then Wazoo right button pie menus. I can't live without that one. It's just really fantastic. And that's a free one also. So then easyfx is just for quick post-processing images. Edge equalizer, required for some modeling functionality with the right mouse button, the RMB pie menu from Wazoo. Same with offset edges, vertex tool, same thing. Mirror, just a very useful quick mirroring tool. Quickprefs is a shading software. Or shading add-on, I'll show you in a minute. And then the default pie menus from Wazoo I use also all the time. It's just improved pie menus. So I'll just go through this kind of one by one if I can. I'll skip a few, the ones that I don't really use at the moment, like animation nodes. So let's have a look. So I said I got rid of the lights and the camera and stuff, and I just have a cube. I generally work like this with the y-axis to the back. So some people have this as the front of the mesh, but I work like this because I work in games, and as far as I remember, this is how I have to work with, at least how I've had to work with the software that I've used and the engines that I've used. But there's always issues with orientation, so whatever, it doesn't really matter. It only really matters when you get to the rigging part, and the animation part, I guess. So now, of course, if I render, it's just ambient light, and there's no real ambient light. So this is where the asset manager comes in for me. So I have it under browse, and the asset manager is PTOZoo add-on. It's a paid add-on, but I think it's worth it. So I have I'm using it mainly for the HDRs at the moment. So I just have my HDR library from HDR Heaven. It's a free HDRs, absolutely fantastic stuff. So totally worth checking out HDR Heaven. So I have all of this stuff locally, and then I just, it's just basically selecting one. Mostly use this one, and then this is working. So I'll just quickly add a material. We don't have any materials at the moment, so I don't really have any starter materials in my scene. If I need specific materials, I append it from other Blender files, but in general I don't really have any starter materials. So let's just do it like that. There we go. I'm just gonna add a some bell. There we go. Okay, so the cool thing about the Asset Manager HDR stuff is that it also comes with some HDR shader actually. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff here. You can turn off the camera and turn it on. So basically it just shows the image in the background or not. Transparent, and you can change the intensity, the exposure, and all that stuff. Can make the image blurry, the HDR image blurry, and that is if you go to the node editor and under here, well, right here, this is the setup basically that comes with it, and that comes with the Asset Manager. So yeah, it's just really great stuff, super useful, super fast for me. Then you can do the same with material libraries. I messed around with that a little bit, so I just apply this material now. So you can make a library of materials and just have them in here. Same with scenes and assets. I messed around with that a little bit with the assets, so I have some libraries, asset libraries. So I recommend checking this out. I think it's a very good solution if you have large libraries of assets and HDRs and stuff like that. So I like that one. Then BoxCutter and so BoxCutter and HardOps. I think BoxCutter is really fantastic. So I have BoxCutter set up, I think as with the default setup. Together with HardOps, it's just a really powerful tool, I think. So I'm using it a lot now on some projects, and also trying to figure out the right way to use it. So I just recommend checking out HardOps and BoxCutter, on checking some YouTube videos, because Master Xeon, Jerry Perkins, does a really fantastic job making documentation for the tool and showing the tool off in videos. So I think that's the best way to really understand the tool and learn how to use it. And I think it's worthwhile investment. So so that's that. Then Decode Machine. I'll quickly show Decode Machine, but it's the same here. The fantastic documentation and a good amount of YouTube video tutorials and explanations. So I'm not a master in using this, but basically the basic functionality is that you have just a library of decals, and you can make your own. Like this one is a decal that I made my own. So it's taking a while to load, and this is mainly because of capturing while doing stuff. So I don't know why this happens, but it happens for me. So basically now I loaded this decal and it switches to material mode. And now if I move this decal around and I press Control, it's gonna snap to my mesh. So now if I render this, you'll see that it's taking a while to render. You'll see that it's basically as if there's geometry in here, and then you can do stuff like match the material. So in the menu you can do vmatch, and now it's matching the material of what you selected. So so yeah, this is really cool. The use cases of it are there's quite a lot of use cases, but it's one of those add-ons that is like it's somewhere floating between, like you have to figure out where you can really inject it in your pipeline, in your game's pipeline, and I think it has a real powerful usage in a game's pipeline, and I'm trying to figure that one out right now. And you can bake all this stuff down to mesh, or you can bake it to its own decol maps and stuff like that. It's a really deep and powerful tool. The one thing that I think people are gonna have to try and figure out is, okay, in a pipeline where you use ZBrush and where you use hard ops, or and then also where you use Substance Designer and Substance Painter, where does this tool really fit in? And I think that's an issue with a lot of these tools, including hard ops, is it looks cool and you want to use it, but where do you inject it in your pipeline and have it work for the pipeline and speed up your pipeline and all that stuff? And that's not always very obvious. So it takes a while to take that jump from, this looks cool, I want to make some cool stuff with it, to having it actually be a powerful utility in your pipeline. And I think both of these add-ons, the hard ops add-on and the Decode Master, they can be powerful utilities in a pipeline, but it takes some prototyping to really figure out where it fits. So that's Decode Machine. Then let's see, Mirror Tools, name a panel master. I'll just quickly show that. So for example, let's say that I duplicate this object, and you see now the object is named cube 001, right? So in the name panel, my issue oftentimes is I have to export between packages, and then in this case, I've always forgot what the name of this is, but anyway, so you have the name of the actual object, but then you have the name of the mesh, I think, or I don't know what you call this. But if I change the name to like a second cube, something like that, you see that the name of the mesh, I'm just going to call that mesh for now, name of the mesh doesn't change, it's still that. So as you're working on bigger and bigger projects, you start getting this kind of messy desynchronization between your object name and your mesh names. And in some applications, when you import an OBJ or an FBX from Blender, it'll add this part to the back, and things can get really messy. So oftentimes you want this to be named properly, and so with the naming panel, let's see, you can do stuff like that. You can do a lot of other stuff, but this is one of the things you can do. So let's say I'm gonna also rename this one first cube. All right, so this one is cube and first cube. So I'm going to select both of these, and then in the name panel you can do, for example, transfer names. And transfer names is basically you transfer whatever you want. So in this case, the object name to the object data. It's subject data. So if you press OK now, it basically, you can see here, it made second cube, and first cube. So stuff like that is really useful. Then I'm going to skip Pipe Nightmare. I haven't really used it. Smart Cursor, I also don't really use that a lot, but it's basically, it's an extension to the right mouse button menu from PTWazoo. So I suggest checking out his videos on that. Usually with the cursor, what I do is I remapped it to being Control Alt and middle mouse button. So I just hold down Control Alt and then place it wherever I want. The reason for that is the right mouse button menu from PTWazoo. So it's a very versatile menu that has a lot of very useful modeling functionality. So if you go into edit mode, it changes depending on, so contextually it changes. And then it has a bunch of, I think this one has a bunch of, let's say for example, normals. So it's, if you hover over it, you for example see that if you just click, it flips the normals, shift click, it recalculates, control click, and it does that with a lot of the tools. And so it's a very once you get used to using this one, I think it's really fast and really powerful pie menu. So I highly recommend it, and I think this one is free. So use this one together with the regular Wazoo pie menus, in my opinion, and you can find the regular Wazoo pie menus on his GitHub, and the other stuff is on his Gumroad. So the regular pie menus are giving you stuff like this, which is almost like the default pie menus, but it's just a little bit enhanced, in my opinion. So so that's that. Then we have the let's see, batch operations, don't really use. Then speedflow, it's a paid add-on, but I think it's really super useful. So it's this stuff. So basically this is the companion to speedflow, and this is the regular speedflow. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this other than it's just very useful modeling tools. It just and I think especially the companion that comes together with speedflow is super powerful. So I use a lot of beveling and stuff like that, and you see, for example, the line here, that was generated by hardops, but it's basically marked for bevel. So I usually use the speedflow companion to do all my beveling and stuff like that, so or to mark my edges. And in this case, again, it's contextual. So how depending on what key you use while you press it, it does different stuff. So for example, if I just click it, it will mark it as a bevel edge. But if I if I just changed my key combinations recently, so I'm still trying to get used to it. But if I press Control click, it will remove it. And it's the same with the hard marked as hard edges. So if I do sharp edges, sorry, if I Control click, it removes it as well. So yeah, just check out his documentation. He has wonderful video tutorials on the tools as well. I think it's for me, this tool and then hardops as modeling tools are really just super powerful, because the one allows you to do really fantastic non-subdivision modeling, high poly modeling, and the other one allows you to do really fantastic subdivision modeling. So I recommend both of those add-ons. Then WonderMesh, you can see I have some WonderMesh primitives here, and the advantage of WonderMesh is basically that if let's say I create a sphere via WonderMesh, and I start doing stuff, I go into edit and all that stuff, you lose with the regular mesh, you lose your ability to adjust the mesh once you've done any kind of action. Now my F6 menu is something else. It's related to my last action. So with WonderMesh, you can always continue editing. It does reset whatever modeling changes you made. So for example, I moved this vertex, and if I now go into the options, so I changed the rings, you see it got rid of that change, but you can always change the primitive. So let me just change to wireframe, and so I can change this to cube and change the subdivision, and then when you definitely are done with it, like when you say I don't need to change it anymore, you just apply it, and then it's applied. And this is integrated in the Wazoo right mouse button menu, the RMB menu. But it doesn't have to be, so you can also just add it via the WonderMesh Shift A menu. So that's WonderMesh. Then easyfx, I'm not gonna go over that. Other than that, I think the Quickprefs are in here somewhere. Quick preference. So it's basically, in my opinion, better shading for modeling. So I think I usually use the dark gray, but you can adjust it, set different lighting setups. I think it is very useful add-on. I like it. It's almost like Madcaps, but a little bit more adjustable, you know. So I recommend this one as well. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. So this is my setup at the moment, and I'm trying to more and more work without. So if you press Alt F10, you can work like this, and I'm trying to work a lot more like this through these menus. So if I need to modify a menu, I can just use the speedflow companion to pop it up, and just trying to rely a lot less on actual menus and just focus on the modeling. So yeah, I think, let me think if there's anything else. The stuff over here comes from the speedflow. You can get rid of that if you want, but it's actually useful. So for example, if I start adding modifiers through speedflow, you see it's adding information here. So I added a bevel, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add let's say an array, right, like that. So now you see the bevel is above the array. And so if I go back to my bevel and I press the arrow down key or up key, I can change the order that way. And the information for that is stored over there over here in the information. So I think it is useful. I like it there. So let's see, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So that's my current setup. Obviously I changed some of the UI coloring and stuff like that. But that's it. That's the add-ons I use and the current setup I use. All right. See you guys later. Bye.